Hey everyone. This time we read Watch Me Play by T.L. Taylor. So this is a really academic book, and it kind of reads a bit like a textbook to me. Someone else might have a different opinion, but for me, I felt like I was back in grad school reading another one of the books that I didn't necessarily want to read, but I had to for a class. Now the topic is really interesting because Taylor follows a few streamers through their daily routine, which I thought was nice. And she talks about a lot of topics that are still issues on Twitch even today. The book was published in 2018, so we've had a few more years to kind of see some of the other things that were going to happen on the site. And, some of the problems she points out obviously are still going on because, 2 years is not really long enough to fix anything. And I'm not 100% sure that Twitch really cared about criticism for their site, to be perfectly honest. Now, Taylor had written another book on esports, which I thought would be probably really interesting as well. I haven't read that one yet, but it seems like she was building off of the research she did previously for that book, which works out great because it seems to have given her a nice foundation for this book. And you can tell when you read this because she's definitely thought a lot of this out, and she's got a lot of her points already set up, or I'm assuming they were already set up from the research she had done, because it comes across like a really, really well-researched and really well-thought-out book. So the book does a really good job of following really the evolution of live streaming, where it started out as really mostly esports and maybe some of the early days of streaming video games, which seems really interesting to me, and I would like to know a little bit more about that, but we don't really focus on that one here. And that's kind of my problem with this book, is she'll get into some really cool things, but then she'll move on, and I kind of kept on thinking to myself while I was reading this, no, go back to that. I want to know more about it. But she does like a really broad overview of a lot of these things and kind of drills down on a few specific things which weren't really that interesting to me, but I can see how they will be interesting to somebody else who does more media studies or something like that. She goes into a lot of the motivations for why people stream video games, whether it be just for fun or monetary reasons, or practicing for an esports event, or other things along those lines. And that was something that was kind of cool to me. I'm a former streamer myself. I streamed on Twitch for not even really a year. And a lot of the things that she talked about, I was like, yeah, that was kind of how I felt. I got pretty burnt out and just kind of stopped doing it. And eventually learned to, well, not really learned, but eventually just started not really enjoying it, mostly because of the time commitment. And for me personally, it felt like going to a job after coming home from another job. So in interviewing a few of the streamers, I kind of had thoughts back to another book that I had read for this called Embedded with Games. And that was kind of more of what I wanted, where the in this case, the journalist would go around to different people that she knew in the gaming industry and really spend a few days with them. And Taylor didn't do that, or if she did, it's not really represented in her book. And if it is in there, I apologize because I didn't really get that when I read it. But I was kind of hoping for more of, this is the person's life while they're streaming, and given more time to those particular interviews and such. It's just one of my own personal preferences. Again, that's the book that I wanted, and instead we get a very academic look at streaming, which is, again, nice for some people, but not really what I was looking for out of the book. She goes into harassment on Twitch, which is a pretty big part of the book, or at least it was something that stood out more to me. And she goes through how Twitch has some things set up where you can have auto mods, and then she talks about having actual human mods there as well. And it was pretty cool to really read about that sort of thing, because I never got big enough to actually need to really moderate my chat. Other things she gets into are the terms of service on Twitch. And this was one of the more interesting things for me, and it's something that's been coming up repeatedly over the years since I've been doing YouTube and paying attention to stuff like that. And it really gets into how smaller streamers feel that Twitch kind of arbitrarily really applies its rules. So if you're one of the bigger streamers that makes money for the site, you can get away with a lot. Well, the smaller streamer has to really toe the line, and they have to follow things exactly. Otherwise, they can just be gone, and no one will ever think twice about it. I do want to mention she doesn't just focus totally on Twitch. It is the major focus of the book, but she does go into a few of the other sites, like YouTube and Facebook as well. I don't think Mixer was big enough to be on her radar back in 2018, but if she does do another book about this, she might include Mixer as well. And just from talking about those different websites, it really brings up the fact that this is still a growing industry and everything like that. And Taylor gets into it about how there needs to be more research on these sort of things because as you have emerging media, you do need to have more of a study on that. Just like how television, you needed to study that if you were talking about really media studies. And she brings up how television is constantly evolving. So while I enjoyed parts of this book, I can't really recommend it to a casual reader just because of how academic the thing is. If you want to check it out, by all means, I'm sure Taylor would appreciate you giving it a read and letting her know what you think about it. I personally am kind of glad that I'm done reading it. I liked parts of it, but overall, no, I can't recommend this to really a casual reader. If you're doing media studies, this is a pretty good resource for it. But yeah, that's really all I can say about the book. So anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did or if you didn't, please let me know in the comments below, and have a great day.